Welcome back. Today we are covering 4 real disturbing encounters that happened across the USA. Stories that prove sometimes the truth is far more terrifying than fiction. Before we start, I want to see how far these stories are traveling. Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from and what time it is there. Are you watching this in broad daylight, or are you sitting in the dark at 3 a.m.? Let us know. Also, I noticed a huge number of you watch these videos every single week. You enjoy the research and the storytelling, but you still haven't hit that subscribe button. It only takes 1 second to subscribe. And honestly, if you're getting all these chills for free, it's the least you could do to support the channel. Don't be a ghost viewer. Join the community and hit that bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Let's dive into the first encounter. I work at a 24-hour truck stop off I-78 in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Last month, I gave a ride to someone who I'm pretty sure has been dead since 1987. Okay, let me back up, because that sounds insane. I'm Chris, I'm 31. And I've been working the overnight shift at the Liberty Travel Plaza for about 2 years now. It's one of those big rest stops with a subway, a convenience store, showers for truckers, the whole deal. My job is basically cashier/janitor/whatever needs doing between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. The pay is nothing special, but it works for me because I'm taking online classes during the day, trying to finish my business degree that I started like 8 years ago and then dropped out because life happened. I live about 20 minutes away in Washington, which is this little town of maybe 6,000 people. Nice enough place. I rent the top floor of a duplex from this old guy named Mr. Kowalski, who mostly leaves me alone except when he wants to complain about the Eagles. My car is a 2014 Honda Civic with 180,000 miles on it that makes a concerning noise when I turn left, but I can't afford to get it looked at right now because my student loans just went up. I'm telling you all this because I need you to understand I'm a normal person. I'm not into paranormal stuff. I don't watch ghost hunting shows. I think most people who claim to see things are either lying for attention or having some kind of episode. My girlfriend Sarah thinks I'm the most skeptical person she's ever met, which is probably true. I Google everything. I need evidence for things. I'm the guy who reads the Snopes article before sharing anything. So when I tell you what happened on March 14th, I need you to know this isn't someone looking for attention or someone who was primed to see weird stuff. I was actively trying to explain it away the entire time it was happening. It was a Thursday night, technically Friday morning. I just finished my shift, and it was around 2:15 a.m. I remember the exact time because I checked my phone to see if Sarah had texted me goodnight, and she had at 11:47 p.m. with a heart emoji. I texted back, "Just got off, driving home, love you," and then got in my car. The weather was that specific kind of late winter in New Jersey, where it's not quite cold enough to snow, but too cold to be comfortable. Maybe 38 degrees. There had been rain earlier, but it had stopped. The roads were wet, and everything had that orange glow from the sodium lights. I took my usual route home, which is basically just taking 22 west for a few miles and then cutting through these back roads. There's this stretch of Route 57 between the Walmart and the old railroad bridge that's just fields and a few houses set back from the road. No street lights for most of it. Trees on both sides creating this kind of tunnel effect. During the day, it's actually pretty, kind of scenic. At night, it's just dark. I was listening to a podcast, this one about financial planning that I listen to even though it makes me feel bad about my life choices. My high beams were on because there was no one else on the road. I was thinking about whether I should get Taco Bell on the way home because there's a drive-through that's open 24 hours and I was hungry but also broke. That's what I was thinking about. Taco Bell. That's how normal everything was. I came around this bend in the road, the one right before the bridge, and my headlights caught something on the shoulder, a person standing there. My first thought was, oh crap, someone's car broke down. This happens sometimes. People run out of gas or get a flat or whatever. It's a dark road with no cell service in spots, so people just kind of stand there hoping someone stops. I slowed down. As I got closer, I could see it was a girl, teenager, maybe 16 or 17. She was wearing a light-colored dress, like a summer dress, which was weird because it was cold. Her hair was long and dark and kind of messy, like it hadn't been brushed in a while. She was standing with her hands at her sides, not waving me down, just standing there looking at the road. I pulled over. I don't know why I pulled over. I'm a guy in my 30s, and stopping for a teenage girl on a dark road at 2 a.m. is exactly the kind of thing that could look really bad, but something about the way she was standing there, so still, in a summer dress in March with no car in sight, I don't know. I couldn't just drive past. I rolled down my passenger window. "Hey, you okay? You need help?" She turned to look at me. Her face was pale, like really pale, but I figured that was just the cold. She had these dark eyes that seemed to take a second to focus on me, like she'd been looking at something far away and had to come back. "I need to get home," she said. Her voice voice was quiet, kind of flat, no emotion in it. "Where's home? You got a phone? You want me to call someone?" She shook her head. "Stewartsville." "Can you take me to Stewartsville?" Stewartsville is this tiny little town about 10 minutes from where we were. Maybe 1,000 people. I'd driven through it, but didn't really know it. "Sure, yeah, get in. It's cold out there." She walked around to the passenger side. Her movements were weird, kind of stiff, like she was concentrating really hard on how to walk. When she opened the door, the interior light came on, and I got a better look at her. Her dress was white with some kind of floral pattern. It looked old, like vintage old, not like she bought it at Forever 21. Her shoes were these flat brown things covered in dirt and leaves. Her legs were bare and had scratches on them. Her hands were dirty too, soil under her fingernails. She sat down and closed the door, didn't put on her seatbelt, didn't say anything. Just sat there with her hands in her lap, staring straight ahead. "You okay?" I asked again. "Were you in an accident or something? What happened to your shoes?" "I was walking," she said, same flat voice. "Walking from where?" "It's like 2 in the morning." She didn't answer, just kept staring ahead. I started driving. The car got weirdly quiet, like even the road noise seemed muted. I realized I'd paused my podcast when I stopped, and I didn't want to turn it back on because that seemed rude. So it was just silence except for the engine and the wet tires on the road. "What's your name?" I asked, trying to make this feel less weird. "Maria." "I'm Chris. Do your parents know where you are? They're probably worried." "Nothing." "Maria, do you have a phone?" "I can let you use mine if you need to call someone." "I don't need a phone." She was still staring straight ahead. Her voice hadn't changed tone once. It was like talking to Siri or something, just this flat delivery with no emotion behind it. We drove for another minute or two. I kept glancing at her. She wasn't moving at all, not fidgeting, not looking around, nothing. Just sitting perfectly still with her hands folded in her lap. I noticed her fingers looked bluish, like she'd been outside way too long. "Are you cold? I can turn the heat up." "I'm not cold." The heat was already on, and it was comfortable in the car, but her being in that thin dress with no jacket still seemed wrong. I turned it up anyway. "Okay, so I need to pause here, because I'm like halfway through writing this out, and it's taking forever. If anyone's actually reading this and wants me to finish, let me know or subscribe or whatever. I've got a lot more to cover, including the part that actually freaked me out, which I haven't even gotten to yet. If nobody's reading this, I'm just going to go to bed because I have a shift tomorrow. Anyway, back to what happened. We crossed over the railroad bridge, and the road opened up a bit. More houses now, though still spread out. Some had porch lights on. "Which way when I get to Stewartsville?" I asked. "Take the main road, turn left at the church." I knew which church she meant. There's an old stone one on the corner with a cemetery next to it. Kind of pretty during the day, but creepy at night, like all old churches. After that, Maple Street, third house on the left. Okay, at least she was giving me directions. That felt more normal. We passed the Stewartsville sign. Population 896, it said. The town was dark, everyone asleep, just a few streetlights and porch lights. I turned at the church. "That's where they buried me," she said. I almost drove off the road. "What?" She didn't respond, just kept staring ahead. I looked at her, then back at the church cemetery, then back at her. "What did you just say?" "Turn here, Maple Street." My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I must have misheard her. That had to be it. She said something else, and I misheard it. My brain was tired, it was late, I'd been working for 8 hours. I misheard her. I turned onto Maple Street. Small houses, the kind built in the 50s and 60s, all similar layouts. Most were dark. "Third house on the left," she said. The third house on the left was a small Cape Cod with blue shutters. No lights on. There was a car in the driveway, one of those old station wagons from the 80s, but it was clearly not functional. Flat tires, leaves piled up on the hood. I stopped in front of the house. My heart was doing something weird, beating fast, but also feeling heavy, like it was working too hard. "This is your house?" I asked. She didn't answer. She was looking at the house with an expression I couldn't read. Not happy, not sad, just looking. "Maria, whose house is this? My parents live here." "Your parents have a car that hasn't moved in 20 years? She turned to look at me for the first time since she got in the car. Her eyes were dark, darker than I'd thought, and something about them was wrong. Not wrong like they were weird colors or something. Wrong like they weren't reflecting light properly, like they were absorbing it. "Thank you for the ride," she said, and then she smiled, and it was a normal smile, a teenager being polite, and I thought maybe I'd imagined everything weird about her. She got out of the car. The interior light came on again, and I saw her dirty shoes, her scratched legs, her pale hands. The dome light flickered. She walked up the driveway toward the house. I watched her go, waiting for her to get inside safely before I drove away, because that's what you do, right? You make sure someone gets inside, okay? She walked up to the front door. She didn't knock. She didn't open it. She walked straight through it. I sat there for probably 30 seconds, just staring. My brain wouldn't process what I'd seen. She walked through the door, through it, not opened it, walked through it like it wasn't there. I was still sitting there when the porch light came on. The front door opened and an old man stepped out. He was maybe 70, wearing pajamas and a bathrobe. He looked at my car, at me sitting there with my mouth hanging open, and his face did this thing. It went from confused to angry to something else, something like resignation. He walked down the driveway toward my car. I should have driven away. Every instinct was telling me to drive away, but I was frozen. He got to my window and I rolled it down because apparently I'd lost all self-preservation instincts. "Did you see her?" he asked. His voice was tired. Not scared, not angry anymore, just tired. I couldn't form words. "Young girl? Dark hair? White dress with flowers on it?" I nodded. He sighed. It was the deepest sigh I've ever heard. Like he was exhaling something he'd been holding for years. "You're not the first. You won't be the last." "I don't understand." "My daughter Maria, she died in 1987. She was walking home from a friend's house and someone hit her with their car on Route 57. Left her there. She was 16. I felt like I was going to throw up." "That's not possible. I just gave her a ride. She was in my car. She talked to me. She told me her name." "I know. That's not possible. You can believe what you want." He looked back at his house. "But you're parked in front of my house at 2 in the morning because she asked you to bring her home, same as the others." "The others? You're the fourth this year. Gets more frequent around March. That's when it happened, March 17th, 1987, St. Patrick's Day. We were having dinner when the police came. I didn't know what to say. My hands were still shaking. The metallic taste in my mouth told me I was about to be sick. "I'm sorry," I finally said. "For what?" "I don't know. For his daughter? For bothering him? For existing?" He shrugged. "Not your fault. She just wants to come home. Can't seem to find her way without help. But she walked through your door. I saw her." "I know. She does that. Then she's gone again until the next time. That doesn't make sense." "None of it makes sense, son. Go home. Try to forget about it. That's what I tell everyone." He turned and walked back up his driveway. Before he went inside, he looked back at me. "Drive safe. That's a dark road." He went inside. The porch light turned off. I sat there for another 5 minutes, I think, just trying to remember how to drive. Eventually, my body started working again and I went home. I didn't sleep that night. I called in sick the next day. I spent the whole day Googling things. Okay, I'm going to finish this, but I need to say something first. This next part is the reason I'm posting this at all. What I found out. I've sat on this for almost a month now, trying to figure out what to do with it, and I can't stop thinking about it. If you've read this far, you probably want to know the rest. Subscribe, because I'm genuinely considering going back to that house and talking to the father again. I have questions. A lot of questions, and I might post about that too if people are interested. Anyway, back to what I found. I started by Googling Maria Stewartsville, NJ, 1987 death. Nothing. I tried different variations. Nothing. I searched the local newspaper archives, the Warren County records, everything I could think of. I couldn't find any record of a teenage girl named Maria dying in Stewartsville in 1987. That should have made me feel better, right? Like maybe I hallucinated the whole thing, or the old man was messing with me or whatever, but it didn't make me feel better. It made me feel worse because I'd touched her door handle after she opened my car door. It was cold, ice cold, in a heated car. I went to work that night trying to act normal. My co-worker Denise asked if I was okay because apparently I looked like crap. I said I was fine, just tired. On my break, I drove to the Stewartsville church. I don't know why. I just needed to see it in the light. It was around 3 a.m., so not exactly daylight, but there were enough streetlights to see. The cemetery was small, maybe 100 graves, old ones mostly, the kind with weathered headstones where you can barely read the names. I walked around with my phone flashlight even though every part of me was screaming to get back in the car. I found it in the back corner. Maria Elena Santos, August 12, 1970 to March 17, 1987. Beloved daughter, forever in our hearts. She was real, she'd been real, and she'd been dead for 37 years. I took a picture of the headstone. I still have it on my phone. Sometimes I look at it just to remind myself I didn't make this up. The next day I went to the Warren County Library in Belvedere. They have archives of the local newspaper, the Warren Reporter, going back to the 1800s. I asked the librarian for anything from March 1987. It took me an hour of scrolling through microfiche, but I found it. Local teen killed in hit and run. The article was from March 19, 1987. Maria Elena Santos, 16 of Stewartsville, had been killed on Route 57 on the evening of March 17th. She'd been walking home from a friend's house after a St. Patrick's Day party. A driver struck her and fled the scene. She was found by a passing motorist around 9:30 p.m., pronounced dead at the scene. The driver was never caught. There was a picture with the article. Grainy, black and white, clearly a school photo. Dark hair, dark eyes, young face. It was her. It was exactly her, not someone who looked like her. Her. I sat there in the library for probably 20 minutes just staring at the microfiche screen. The librarian asked if I needed help, and I said no, I was fine. Everything was fine. I printed the article. I still have it. When I got home, I went down a rabbit hole about ghosts and hauntings and all that stuff. I know, I said I don't believe in that, and I still don't know if I do, but I needed an explanation. I found a lot about residual hauntings versus intelligent hauntings. The theory is that residual hauntings are like recordings. They just replay over and over without any awareness. But intelligent hauntings involve entities that can interact with the living, that respond to stimuli, that seem aware. Maria knew my name. She told me where to go. She thanked me for the ride. That's not a recording. I also found a lot about anniversary hauntings, where paranormal activity increases around the date of a death. March 17th, 1987. I picked her up on March 14th. Close enough. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. The old man said I was the fourth person this year. 4 people in early March 2024 picked up a girl on Route 57 and drove her to that house in Stewartsville. 4 people. How many total since 1987? 37 years. If it happens multiple times every March, that's potentially over 100 people who've had this experience. Why isn't this more well known? Why isn't there a subreddit about this? Why isn't it on one of those creepy local legends lists? I searched everywhere. I found nothing. No forum posts. No Reddit threads. No TikToks, no YouTube videos, nothing. Either everyone who has this experience doesn't talk about it, or something else is going on. I thought about going back to talk to Maria's father. He seemed willing to talk. He seemed tired, but not hostile. I could ask him questions. How long has this been happening? Does it happen every year? Has anyone else investigated? Does he have any photos of Maria I could compare to what I saw? But something stops me every time I think about doing it. What if I see her again? I've been taking a different route home from work. It adds 15 minutes to my drive, but I don't care. I'm not going near Route 57 at night, not anytime soon. My girlfriend Sarah knows something's wrong, but I haven't told her the full story. I told her I saw something weird driving home and it freaked me out. She thinks I saw a deer or something and got spooked. I didn't correct her. I don't know what to do with this information. I don't know why I'm posting it except that I need someone else to know. I've been carrying this around for almost a month, and it's heavy. It's really heavy. So here's what I know. Maria Elena Santos died on Route 57 in Stewartsville, New Jersey on March 17th, 1987. She was 16 years old. She was killed in a hit and run. Her grave is in the cemetery next to the old stone church on Main Street. Her father still lives in the same house on Maple Street, third house on the left. And every March, she appears on Route 57 looking for a ride home. I don't know what she is. I don't know why this happens. I don't know if she's at peace or suffering or just going through the motions of something imprinted on reality. I don't know if helping her home helps anything, or if it's just part of a cycle that never ends. What I do know is that she was cold when I touched her door handle, and her eyes didn't reflect light properly, and she walked through a solid door. And the old man sighed like he'd been sighing the same sigh for 37 years. I keep thinking about something he said. She just wants to come home, can't seem to find her way without help. What does that mean? Why does she need help? The article said she was walking home when she died. She knew the way. She was almost there when it happened. Route 57 to Stewartsville to Maple Street to her house. She was so close. Maybe that's the point. Maybe she was so close to home that some part of her can't accept that she never made it. So she keeps trying, over and over, every March, finding someone to give her a ride those last few miles. I've thought about going to the spot where it happened, where she was hit. I know approximately where it is based on the article and where I found her. That bend in the road, right before the railroad bridge. I could go there during the day, see if there's a memorial or something. Sometimes people put crosses or flowers at accident sites. I haven't done it yet. I'm not sure I want to. I've also thought about researching the hit and run more. The article said the driver was never caught. It was 1987, no traffic cameras, no cell phones, limited forensic technology. They probably never had a chance of finding whoever did it. But what if they did find something and it was covered up? What if someone local was responsible? What if someone in that town knows who killed Maria Santos and has been carrying that secret for 37 years? I don't know if that's relevant. I don't know if that would change anything. She's dead either way. Nothing I do changes that. But I keep thinking about the old man's face when he talked about the police coming to his door on St. Patrick's Day, 1987. I keep thinking about him living in that same house all these years, seeing his daughter walk through his door over and over again. Does she go inside? What happens after she walks through? Does he see her? Can they talk? Or does she just vanish the moment she's home, satisfied that she made it, only to appear again the next time she's needed? I have so many questions, and no one to ask them to except a grieving father who's been dealing with this for almost 4 decades. So that's my story. I drove a dead girl home in the middle of the night, and now I can't stop thinking about her. I don't know what I'm hoping to get out of posting this. Validation, maybe? Someone else who's had this experience? An explanation that doesn't involve ghosts because I still really don't want to believe in ghosts. Or maybe I just needed to write it down, to make it real outside of my own head, to have someone else know that Maria Santos is still trying to get home. If you've read this whole thing, thank you. I know it was long. I know it sounds insane. I'm still not sure I believe it myself, even though I was there. Sarah just texted me asking if I want to come over for dinner. Normal stuff, regular life. I should go do that. I should stop thinking about this. But I know I'll be thinking about it tonight when I drive to work, and tomorrow night, and every night in March for however many Marches I have left. If you're ever driving through Warren County, New Jersey, late at night, and you see a girl on the side of Route 57 in a white dress, stop for her. She just wants to go home. So that's what happened. I've been sitting on this for almost a month trying to figure out if I should post it. I mentioned there's more to this story, and there is. I've been back to Stewartsville twice since that night. Not at night, just during the day. I drove past the house on Maple Street. The station wagon is still there with the flat tires. I saw the old man once, checking his mailbox. I didn't stop, but I did go to the cemetery. I took more pictures of Maria's grave. I also found something else there that I didn't mention earlier because I'm still not sure what to make of it. There are fresh flowers on her grave, not old wilted ones. Fresh. Someone is still visiting her grave and leaving flowers. I don't know if it's her father or someone else. I don't know why that bothers me as much as it does. I guess I thought if someone was mourning her, actively mourning her after all these years, they'd want to know that she's still out there somehow, that she's still trying to come home. Or maybe they do know. Maybe they're the ones who keep her memory alive enough for her to keep appearing. I don't know how this stuff works. I've got the photos, the newspaper printout, and I've been keeping a journal of everything since that night. If people want to see any of that, I can figure out how to post it. I'm also thinking about trying to find other people who've picked her up. The old man said I was the 4th this year. That means there are at least 3 other people out there who've had this experience just since January. They have to be somewhere. Subscribe if you want updates on any of this. I'm going to keep digging. March 17th is coming up soon, the actual anniversary of her death. I don't know if I'm brave enough to go to that spot on that night, but I'm thinking about it. Maybe she's different on the actual anniversary. Maybe she says something more. Maybe she can finally rest. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. Thanks for reading. Really, just knowing someone else knows about Maria Santos now, it helps. It really does. I work night audit at a budget hotel off I-40. Something's wrong with the guest in room 12. I'm not the type of person who believes in paranormal stuff, but I need to write this down while it's still fresh because I genuinely don't know what I'm dealing with. So I'm 31, been working night audit at a Comfort Inn in Amarillo, Texas for about 4 years now. The pay is garbage, but it works for my schedule since I'm trying to finish my degree online during the day. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., Sunday through Thursday. Mostly it's just me dealing with drunk guests, printing out folios, and watching YouTube on my phone between the occasional check-in. The hotel is right off I-40, exit 72 if you know the area. It's one of those locations that gets a mix of long-haul truckers, families on road trips, both and semi-permanent residents who are between apartments or working temporary contracts in the area. We've got 67 rooms across 2 floors, nothing fancy, continental breakfast, indoor pool that's closed half the time for maintenance, Wi-Fi that barely works. Standard budget hotel situation. I should probably mention I'm dealing with a root canal situation right now that my dental insurance is fighting me on, so I've been in a pretty bad mood for like 3 weeks. Just want that context out there because I know I've been more irritable than usual. This whole thing started about 2 months ago, mid-September. We got a new guest in room 12, ground floor, around the corner from the front desk. I remember it was a Tuesday night because that's when we do system updates and the computer was being slow as hell. Guy checked in around 11:30 p.m. I want to say 11:34 specifically because I remember looking at the clock and thinking he'd barely made it before midnight rates kicked in. Average looking guy, maybe late 30s, early 40s, jeans and a button-down shirt. glasses, short brown hair, the kind of person you'd pass on the street and forget immediately. He paid cash for a week up front, which isn't that unusual for our location. Said his name was Michael Porter. Didn't have much luggage, just a rolling suitcase and a backpack. Business or pleasure? I asked, which is what I always ask. Work, he said. I'm an auditor. I'll be in the area for a few weeks. Cool. There's a Denny's about half a mile down if you need food. Continental breakfast is 6 to 9. He nodded, took his key cards, and that was it. Normal interaction. Nothing weird. Here's where it starts getting strange though. The next morning when I was finishing up my shift, I did my usual walkthrough of the first floor. We're supposed to check for any maintenance issues, make sure nobody left their door propped open, that kind of thing. When I passed room 12, I noticed the door was open about 2 inches. Not wide open, just slightly ajar. The security latch was off. I knocked. Hello? Housekeeping concern? No answer. I pushed the door open a bit more and looked inside. The room looked completely normal. Bed was made, though housekeeping hadn't been through yet, so that was odd. Everything was neat. TV was off. I didn't see the guest. I figured maybe he'd stepped out for ice or something and the door hadn't latched. It happens sometimes with our older doors. I pulled it shut until I heard the click and made a note to tell maintenance to check the latch. Didn't think about it again until that night. I came in for my shift at 11 and started my usual routine. Around midnight, I did a property walk, just checking the parking lot, making sure the side doors were locked, normal stuff. When I came back around to the front, I saw the guest from room 12 standing in the parking lot. He was just standing there between 2 cars facing the building, not moving, not on his phone, just standing. It was weird, but not like alarm bell weird. People do odd stuff. Maybe he was on a phone call with an earbud in. Maybe he was smoking and I just couldn't see it from that angle. I went back inside. At 2:47 a.m., I remember the time because I'd just done my hourly log entry, I noticed him again. He was in the hallway outside the lobby, just past where the cameras pick up, standing completely still, facing the front desk. I could see him through the interior window. I watched him for probably 30 seconds. He didn't move, didn't look at his phone, just stood there. I got up and went to the door. "Can I help you with something?" He seemed to notice me then, like he'd been in a trance or something. "Oh, no, I was just thinking." "Okay, well, it's pretty late. If you need anything, just call the front desk from your room." "Right, sorry." He walked back toward his room. That was the first time I felt something was off. Who stands in a hotel hallway at 3 a.m. just thinking? And the way he'd been standing so perfectly still. The thing is, I'm one of those people who tends to catastrophize everything. My girlfriend is always telling me I create problems in my head that don't exist, so I talked myself out of being concerned. Guy's probably just weird. Lots of people are weird, doesn't mean anything. 2 nights later, Thursday, I'm pretty sure it was around 1 a.m. I was in the back office doing paperwork when I heard the front desk bell ring. We have this little bell because sometimes people can't see me if I'm in the office. I came out and there was Michael Porter standing at the desk. "Hey, what can I do for you?" I asked. He just stared at me for a second. Then he said, "What time do you get off work?" That's a weird question, right? Like immediately, that's a red flag question. 7 a.m., I said. "Do you need something?" "No," he said. Then he just stood there. "Okay, well, if you need anything, just let me know." He nodded slowly and went back to his room. I texted my girlfriend about it. Me. "Guest at work being weird." Her. "Weird how?" Me. "I don't know, just asking personal questions." Me. "Probably nothing." Her. "Be safe, okay?" Me. "Yeah." I didn't sleep great that day. Kept thinking about the way he'd asked that question, the way he'd been standing in the hallway, the door being open. Okay, quick pause. I'm like 15 minutes into typing this out and realizing this is going to be way longer than I thought. If you're actually reading this and want me to finish the whole thing, let me know or subscribe or whatever. I've got like 4 more incidents to cover. And honestly, if nobody's reading, I'm just going to go to bed. Anyway, back to what happened. Friday night, I came in for my shift, and there was a note from the day shift manager. Guest in 12 complained about noise. Says someone is in the room above him at night. Room 112 is vacant. Has been for 3 days. Told him no one is up there, but he insisted he hears walking. Room 112 is directly above room 12. It had been empty since Tuesday because we were waiting on a carpet repair. I made a note to check it during my rounds. Around 1:30 a.m., I went upstairs with my master key and unlocked room 112. I flipped on the light and looked around. Empty room. No signs anyone had been in there. Carpet was pulled up in one corner where they were going to patch a stain. Everything else normal. I was about to leave when I noticed something on the floor by the window. I walked over and looked down. It was a room service menu from our hotel. We don't have room service. We have those paper menus that list nearby delivery places, but this was designed to look like a room service menu, printed on cardstock with our hotel logo on it. I picked it up. It had a list of items. Continental breakfast, 6 to 9 a.m., coffee, 24 hours, ice, 24 hours, normal stuff. But at the bottom, handwritten in pen, it said night audit, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., and then my first name. My hands started shaking. Not like movie shaking, just that slight tremor you get from too much coffee. I took the menu and went back downstairs. I checked our printer and supply closet. We definitely didn't print these. Someone had made this themselves. I called my manager and left a voicemail. It was 1:45 a.m., so I wasn't expecting her to answer, but I documented it. Then I pulled up our security footage. Our cameras cover the main entrance, the parking lot, the hallways on both floors, and the side exits. They don't cover the stairwells because our owner is cheap and wouldn't pay for the extra cameras. I scrubbed through the footage from the past 6 hours. At 11:52 p.m., Michael Porter left his room. He walked down the hallway toward the side exit. The camera there shows him going outside. Then at 12:04 a.m., the second floor hallway camera picks him up, walking toward room 112. He unlocks the door with a key card and goes inside. But we hadn't given him a key to room 112. That room was marked vacant in our system. I checked the key card log. Someone had encoded a key for room 112 at 4:17 p.m. that day. The system showed it was done from the front desk terminal during Stacy's shift. I texted Stacy. Me. Hey, did you give the guest in room 12 a key to 112? Stacy. No, why? Me. Someone encoded one during your shift. Stacy. I was on break from like 4 to 4:30. Jessica covered. Ask her. I called Jessica. She answered on the fourth ring. Sounded asleep. Jessica. Hey, it's Tom from Night Audit. Sorry to wake you. Did you give a guest a key to room 112 this afternoon? What? No, that room's not available. Someone encoded a key at 4:17? I don't know what to tell you. I didn't make any keys except for a checkout who locked theirs in their room. Okay, sorry to wake you. It's fine. Everything okay? Yeah, just tracking something down. I hung up and sat there trying to figure this out. Either someone had come behind the desk and used our encoder without anyone noticing, or one of my co-workers was lying. I pulled up the lobby camera footage from 4:17 p.m. Stacy was gone. Jessica was at the desk on her phone. At 4:16, a guest approached the desk. Jessica helped them. The guest left. At 4:18, Jessica walked to the back office for something. The desk was empty for about 40 seconds. I couldn't see the key encoder from the camera angle. It's on the side desk, just out of frame. Someone could have come in during those 40 seconds, but the front door camera would have caught them. I checked the front door footage. Between 4:16 and 4:19, 3 people came through the front doors. A family with 2 kids heading to the pool, an older woman coming back from the parking lot, probably returning from dinner, and Michael Porter entering from outside, walking quickly past the desk toward his room. He'd had time, like 30 seconds, maybe less. Enough time to reach over the desk and press a few buttons. My stomach did that dropping thing, like missing a stair. I locked the office door. Then I pulled up the live camera feeds and cycled through them. Parking lot, empty. Front entrance, empty. First floor hallway, empty. Second floor hallway, empty. Wait, I went back to the second floor hallway. There was someone standing at the far end of the hall by the stairwell door. The camera quality isn't great, especially in the darker areas, but I could make out a person-shaped figure just standing there. I watched for 2 minutes. They didn't move. I called the police non-emergency line. Amarillo Police non-emergency. What's your location? Comfort Inn on Lakeside. I'm the night auditor and there's someone on the second floor who I think may have broken into a vacant room. Are they being aggressive? No, they're just standing in the hallway, but they're not a guest and they accessed a room that's not available. We'll send an officer. Stay in a secure location. I stayed in the office with the door locked, watching the cameras. The figure didn't move, just stood there for 8 minutes until a patrol car pulled into the parking lot. 2 officers came in. I explained the situation and showed them the footage. We all went upstairs together. The hallway was empty. We checked room 112. Door was locked. I unlocked it with my master key. The room was empty. The menu I'd found earlier was gone. I told the officers about the menu, but I realized how it sounded. Guest makes his own key, stands in a hallway, leaves a piece of paper that's now gone. Has this guest made any threats? One officer asked. No. Has he damaged property? No. Has he violated any policies? Just accessing a room he's not assigned to. Could be an honest mistake. People get confused in hotels. He made himself a key card. The officer looked at his partner. You want us to talk to him? I did, but I also didn't. What was I going to say? He's creepy. He stands in hallways. I found a weird menu that's now missing. Just, if you could check on him, make sure everything's okay. We went to room 12. The officer knocked. Police, we need to speak with the occupant. No answer. He knocked again. Sir, we need you to open the door. After about 30 seconds, the door opened. Michael Porter stood there in the same jeans and button-down shirt. He looked completely normal, confused even. "Can I help you, officers? We had a report of someone accessing areas of the hotel they shouldn't be in. Do you have key cards for any room other than this one?" "No, just this room." "Can we see your key cards?" He pulled 2 cards from his pocket. Both had 12 written on the paper sleeve. "Mind if we take a look in your room? Do you have a warrant?" The officer's expression didn't change. "No, sir, just asking permission." "Then I'd rather not." "Am I being accused of something?" "There was someone on the 2nd floor and we're trying to account for all guests." "I've been in my room all night." I started to say something, but the officer held up his hand slightly. "All right, sir. Sorry to bother you. If you do go up to the 2nd floor for any reason, please use the rooms you're assigned to." "Of course." Michael Porter looked at me then, made direct eye contact, smiled just a little bit. The door closed. The officers walked back to the lobby with me. "Look, if he's bothering you or making you uncomfortable, you can ask him to leave. It's private property." "I know, I just don't have a concrete reason. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Call us if anything else happens." They left. I went back to the office and sat there for probably 20 minutes just trying to get myself to calm down. At 4:30 a.m., I did another camera check. Michael Porter was in the parking lot again, standing between the same 2 cars as before, facing the building. I watched him for 10 minutes. He didn't move except to check his phone once. At 6:15 a.m., right before the morning shift started to arrive, he went back to his room. I left Denise, the morning auditor, a detailed note about everything. She called me around noon while I was trying to sleep. "Hey, so I read your note. That's really creepy. Did you see him this morning?" "No, but housekeeping said his room is weird." "Weird how?" "Like he's rearranged all the furniture, moved the bed away from the wall, turned the desk around, put the chair in the bathroom, and he's got papers taped to the windows, like he's blocking the view out." "Did they take pictures?" "Yeah, I told them to document it. I called the manager. She's going to talk to him when she gets in." "Okay, thanks for calling." "Tom, be careful tonight. Something about this guy is really off." I tried to sleep, but couldn't. Kept thinking about him standing in the parking lot. The way he'd smiled at me after the police left. The menu with my name on it. Around 3 p.m. I googled Michael Porter Auditor Texas and got about 8 million results. I tried Michael Porter Auditor Amarillo and got nothing relevant. I tried different variations. Nothing. I checked our registration records. His ID had been a Texas driver's license. I'd scanned it like we do for all cash-paying guests. I pulled up the scan. The license looked real enough, but something about it seemed off. I couldn't place what exactly. The photo looked like him. The address was in Houston. License number looked formatted correctly. I screenshot the license and sent it to my buddy who works for the DMV. He owes me a favor from helping him move last year. Me. "Can you check if this is a real license? Not trying to get you in trouble, just need to know." "Dave." "Yeah, give me a few." Around 4 p.m. he texted back. "Dave. Doesn't exist in our system." Me. "You sure?" Dave. "Ran the number 3 times, no record. Either it's fake or really old and purged, but we usually keep records longer than that." Me. "Thanks, man." Dave. "Everything okay?" Me. "Yeah, just weird guest situation at work." Dave. "Stay safe, bro." "Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. But real talk, this is taking forever to write out, and I don't even know if anyone's going to read this whole thing. If you're still here, subscribe, I guess. That way I know people actually care about this story. And I'm not just screaming into the void at 2 a.m. Alright, so where was I, right? The fake ID. I called my manager and told her. She said she'd contact the owner and decide how to handle it. In the meantime, I should act normal, but call police if he did anything threatening. I came in for my shift that night, Saturday, and the hotel was busier than usual. We had a youth soccer tournament in town, so we were almost fully booked. I was actually relieved. More people around felt safer. I didn't see Michael Porter during my first few hours. His car was in the parking lot, same spot as always. A silver Honda Civic, maybe 2008 or 2009. I wrote down the license plate and ran it through our system out of curiosity. The plate came back to a different make and model. Reported stolen 6 weeks ago in Oklahoma City. I documented everything and called the police again. Same 2 officers showed up. I showed them the plate information. You're sure it's the same plate?" "Positive. I wrote it down and double-checked." They ran the plate themselves and confirmed. Stolen vehicle. They approached room 12. I watched from the lobby. They knocked. No answer. They knocked again. Identified themselves. No answer. They tried the handle. Locked. One officer called for my master key. I brought it over. "Sir, we're entering the room," one called out. They opened the door. The room was empty. Completely empty. No furniture rearrangement like housekeeping had described. No papers on the windows. Everything was normal. Standard hotel room layout. Bed made. Everything neat, but also no guest. No luggage, no personal items, nothing. "How long has he been here?" the officer asked me. "He checked in Tuesday." "Oh, paid for a week?" And housekeeping saw his stuff this morning? Yes, they said he'd rearranged the furniture and had papers everywhere. We checked the bathroom. Empty. Closet. Empty. Under the bed. Nothing. The officers checked the parking lot. The silver Civic was gone. I pulled up the security footage. At 7:23 p.m., while I'd been checking in a family for the soccer tournament, Michael Porter had loaded his rolling suitcase and backpack into the Civic and driven away. Just left. Middle of his reservation, no checkout, just gone. Well, one officer said, problem solved itself, I guess. What about the stolen car? We'll put out a BOLO. He's probably in New Mexico by now. If he left 2 hours ago. You did the right thing calling us. They left. I went back to my shift but couldn't focus. Something about the whole thing felt wrong. Not wrong like it was still dangerous. Wrong like it didn't add up. If he was going to leave, why wait until Saturday? Why not leave Friday after the police came? Why come back to the room at all? I checked the footage again, watched him load his car. He'd made 2 trips. First trip, suitcase. Second trip, backpack, and a large black garbage bag I hadn't seen before. I zoomed in on the footage as much as our terrible camera quality would allow. The garbage bag looked full, heavy. He'd carried it carefully. I got this really stupid thought about whether I should check the dumpsters. That's stupid, right? What would I even be looking for? But I couldn't shake it. At 2:47 a.m., I notice I keep looking at the clock at 2:47 for some reason. I went out to the dumpster area behind the building. We have 3 large dumpsters, 2 for general trash, 1 for recycling that nobody actually uses correctly. I opened the first general trash dumpster and shined my phone flashlight inside. Normal trash, bags from housekeeping, pizza boxes, nothing unusual. Second dumpster, same thing. I was about to give up when I saw it. On top of the recycling dumpster, not inside it, a cardboard box. I pulled it down. Inside the box were printed photographs, like actual printed photos, not phone pictures. Maybe 30 or 40 of them. They were all of the hotel, exterior shots from different angles, the parking lot, the entrances, the hallways, and photos of me through the lobby window, at the front desk, walking to my car, in the parking lot, getting coffee from the breakfast area before my shift. Some of the photos had notes written on the back in the same handwriting from the menu. Times, dates, 11:07 p.m., arrives for shift. 7:04 a.m., leaves, drives east on E40. 6:42 a.m., walks to car, checks phone. He'd been documenting my schedule. My jaw was clenched so hard my teeth hurt. I called the police again, 3rd time that night. Same officers came back and I showed them the photos. This is stalking behavior, one said. Do you know this person? Any connection outside of work? No, never saw him before Tuesday. Any idea why he'd target you? No. They took the photos as evidence, made a report, asked if I felt safe finishing my shift. I didn't, but I said yes because what else was I going to do? Go home and then come back tomorrow night. The rest of the shift I kept looking at the cameras. Kept expecting to see him in the parking lot or the hallways, but there was nothing. Just normal hotel activity. Soccer families coming and going, truckers checking in. At 7 a.m., I left everything for Denise with a note that I'd explain later. I got in my car and locked the doors and just sat there for a minute. I checked my Google Maps timeline. Over the past week, it showed my normal pattern. Home to work, work to home, nothing unusual. But then I noticed something. On Thursday morning, right after I'd gotten off shift, my location showed I'd driven to a McDonald's on the other side of town before going home. I hadn't done that. I'd gone straight home and crashed. I zoomed in on the timeline. It showed me at that McDonald's from 7:34 a.m. to 8:12 a.m. I'd been at home asleep. My phone had been on my nightstand. I was sure of it. But Maps doesn't just make things up. Either my phone had been at that McDonald's or someone had my phone, or something was wrong with the GPS. I drove home and checked my apartment. Everything looked normal, nothing missing, nothing moved. I checked my phone's location history more carefully. There were 3 instances over the past week where my location showed places I hadn't been, all in the morning right after my shift, all on days when Michael Porter was at the hotel. I need to be really clear about something. I don't know how to explain this. I'm not a tech person. I don't understand how someone could manipulate GPS data or clone a phone or whatever, but I know I wasn't at those locations, unless I was and I don't remember, which is somehow worse. I ended up going to urgent care because I was starting to freak out about the possibility of carbon monoxide poisoning or something medical. They ran some tests. Everything came back normal. The doctor suggested stress and lack of sleep, which, fair. I tried to sleep but kept waking up thinking I heard someone in my apartment. Every sound was him. Every car door outside was him coming back. Sunday night I called in sick, told my manager I had food poisoning. She was cool about it. Monday night too. By Tuesday I felt like I was losing my mind staying home, so I went back. Denise had left me a note. Housekeeping found something weird in room 12. I radioed housekeeping. Maria came down. What did you find? You should come see. We went to room 12. The room had been cleaned and prepped for the next guest. Everything looked normal. Under the mattress, Maria said. I lifted the mattress. Underneath, Taped to the box spring were more photos. These were different. They were photos of me sleeping in my car, not at the hotel, in my car, in my apartment complex parking lot. I'd fallen asleep in my car probably 4 or 5 times over the past few months. I do online classes during the day, and sometimes I'm too tired to make it upstairs to my apartment, so I take a nap in my car first. I thought nobody noticed or cared. These photos showed me asleep in the driver's seat from different angles, different days based on what I was wearing. The last photo was dated Saturday morning, the day he left. He'd followed me home multiple times, watched me sleep. I couldn't breathe right. That weird thing where you forget the rhythm of it. I called the police. Filed another report. They said they'd escalate it to a detective since it was now multiple incidents, and he'd followed me to my home address. A detective called me the next day, asked me to come in and give a statement. I did, told them everything. They said they'd investigate, but Michael Porter was likely a fake name. The stolen car was probably ditched by now, and unless he came back, there wasn't much they could do. Change your routine, the detective said. Don't sleep in your car. Be aware of your surroundings. Call us immediately if you see him again. That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't seen him since. The silver Civic never came back. No one matching his description has checked into our hotel, but things keep happening that I can't explain. Last week I found a room service menu in my mailbox at home. Same format as the one from the hotel. Just one item listed, night audit, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and my full name. Not just my first name, my full legal name, including my middle name that I never use. My location history still shows places I haven't been. Always in the morning after my shift. Always for about 30 to 40 minutes. McDonald's, Walmart parking lot, a park I've never been to. 3 days ago I was doing laundry in my apartment complex laundry room. I went back to my apartment to grab fabric softener. When I came back 2 minutes later, someone had folded all my clothes perfectly, better than I would have folded them. I was the only person in the laundry room. The door was locked from the inside. Yesterday I found a photo under my car's windshield wiper. It was a picture of me at work from last night. Yeah, taken through the lobby window, same angle as the photos from before. I filed another police report. They said they'd increased patrols near my apartment and the hotel, but I could tell they thought I was being paranoid. Maybe I am. I googled carbon monoxide poisoning again. I looked up sleep disorders. I found this thing about temporal lobe epilepsy. Apparently it can cause really specific symptoms like déjà vu, jamais vu, fear without cause, sense of a presence, all stuff I've been feeling. So maybe that's it. Maybe I'm having some kind of medical episode and imagining patterns that aren't there. But I didn't imagine the photos. The police have those. I'm going to finish this, but I want to say something first. The part I'm about to get into is the reason I finally posted this. It's the part that keeps me up at night. I left some stuff out earlier because I was trying to keep this short, but screw it. If you've read this far, you deserve the full story. Subscribe, because I'm thinking about posting the actual evidence I mentioned. Photos, recordings, the works. I don't know if I should make that public, but if enough people want to see it, I'll figure out how. Anyway, back to what happened. This morning I came home from my shift around 7:30 a.m. I parked in my usual spot at my apartment complex. I was exhausted. I'd been up for like 22 hours straight because I couldn't sleep during the day yesterday. I sat in my car for a minute, checking my phone. I had a text from an unknown number. Unknown. You should sleep more. It's not good for your health to work these hours. I just stared at the message. Hands were shaking, not like movie shaking. Just that slight tremor you get from too much coffee. Me. Who is this? I waited. The 3 dots appeared like they were typing, then disappeared, then appeared again. Unknown. A concerned guest. Room 12 had excellent service. Me. Leave me alone, or I'm calling the police. Unknown. You already did. They can't help you. I'm very good at this. The 3 dots appeared again. Unknown. I've been doing this for a long time. You're number 7. The others stopped being interesting. You're still interesting. I called 911, told them about the messages, gave them the number. They said they'd trace it and send an officer to my location. I sat in my car with the doors locked, engine running, ready to drive away if I saw anyone approaching. The officer arrived about 12 minutes later. I showed him the messages. He called it in. They traced the number to a burner phone. Last ping on a cell tower near my apartment complex. The phone was offline now. He's near here, I said. Or he was. These phones are disposable. He's probably dumped it already. What am I supposed to do? File for a restraining order. We need a real name and address for that, though. In the meantime, document everything. Don't engage with any messages. Consider staying somewhere else for a while. I went to my girlfriend's place, told her everything. She said I could stay as long as I needed. That was this morning. It's now 9 p.m. and I'm supposed to go to work in 2 hours. I don't want to go, but I also can't afford to lose this job. I'm already behind on my student loan payments, and my car needs new tires. My girlfriend thinks I should quit. Just quit and find something else. But where? Every budget hotel is basically the same. Same layout, same security issues, same night shift vulnerability, and here's what really scares me. That message, "You're number 7. I've been trying to find information about similar incidents. I searched for hotel stalker and night auditor stalking and found a few stories, but nothing that matches this pattern exactly. I did find one article from 2019 about a night auditor in Oklahoma City who reported being stalked by a guest. She filed a police report. The guest disappeared. 3 weeks later, she disappeared too. Her car was found in a Walmart parking lot. They never found her. Her name was Jennifer Santos. She was 28, worked at a budget hotel off I-40. I don't know if it's connected. I'm probably seeing patterns that aren't there. That's what my brain does. Like I said, I catastrophize, but I-40 runs from California to North Carolina, hundreds of budget hotels along the route, thousands of night auditors working alone. How many of them have dealt with someone like this? How many filed reports that went nowhere? How many just quit and moved on and never talked about it? How many disappeared? I searched for missing night auditor and found more cases than I expected. Most are probably unrelated. People go missing for all kinds of reasons, but some of them have similar details. Worked at hotels, last seen leaving their shift, car found abandoned. I made a list. Jennifer Santos, Oklahoma City, 2019. Marcus Webb, Little Rock, 2017. Diana Chen, Albuquerque, 2016, Kevin Ostrowski, Flagstaff, 2015, all I-40 corridor. All night auditors, all missing. Could be coincidence. Probably is. I'm not a detective. I don't know how to investigate this properly, but what if it's not? I called the detective handling my case and told him about the other missing persons. He said he'd look into it, but cautioned me against jumping to conclusions. "You're dealing with a lot of stress," he said. "It's natural to see patterns. Try to focus on your immediate safety." He's right. I know he's right, but I can't stop thinking about that message. Number 7. I checked my phone's location history again. This morning, after I got those texts, it shows my phone at that same McDonald's across town from 7:42 a.m. to 8:15 a.m. I was at my girlfriend's apartment. My phone was with me. I'm sure of it. I checked with her. Was I on my phone this morning around 8? Yeah, you were showing me the texts, and I was here the whole time. I didn't leave. Tom, but you're freaking me out. Yes, you were here. So how was my phone at McDonald's? Unless it wasn't my phone. Unless he has a device that mimics my phone's signal. I don't even know if that's possible, but it feels possible. Or unless I'm losing my mind, and my memory is completely unreliable. I have to go to work soon. I don't know what else to do. I need the money. And maybe he's gone. Maybe that text was his way of saying goodbye. Maybe he's moved on to number 8. But I keep thinking about those photos of me sleeping in my car, the way he folded my laundry, the menu in my mailbox with my full name. He knows where I live. He knows my schedule. He knows things about me I don't remember telling anyone. My girlfriend is driving me to work tonight. She's going to wait in the parking lot during my shift. I told her she doesn't have to, but she insisted. I've got my pepper spray. I've got the detective's direct number. I've got 911 on speed dial. I'm going to be fine. Probably, I hope. If you're reading this and you work night audit or any job where you're alone at night, please be careful. Lock your doors. Check your surroundings. Trust your gut when something feels off. And if you've had experiences like this, especially along I-40, please tell someone. File a report. Document everything. Don't let it disappear. I'm going to keep updating if anything else happens. I don't know if this is the end of the story or just the middle. I don't know if Michael Porter is gone or if he's watching me right now waiting to see what I do next. All I know is I'm scared and I'm tired and I really hope I'm wrong about all of this. That's the full story so far. I haven't told anyone else the extent of it, except you now. Writing it all out made it feel real again in a way I wasn't expecting. I mentioned the other missing persons cases. I'm still researching those. There might be more. There might be a pattern I'm not seeing yet. If enough people are interested, I'll post what I find. I've also got those photos the police returned to me after they made copies. The ones of me sleeping in my car. I don't know if I should share those publicly, but if it helps someone else recognize this pattern, maybe it's worth it. Subscribe if you want updates. I'll post again after my shift tonight if anything happens. Or maybe I'll post tomorrow to confirm nothing happened and I'm just paranoid. Either way, thanks for reading this. Seriously. Just knowing someone else knows about this now makes it feel less isolating. Stay safe out there. I work security at an abandoned state hospital in Michigan. I need to tell someone what's been happening on third shift. I'm typing this at 4:47 a.m. from the parking lot because I can't go back inside right now and I need to get this down while it's fresh. My name's Dave. I'm 34, been doing security work for about 6 years now. Currently, I'm contracted through Allied Universal, assigned to the former Northville Regional Psychiatric Hospital in Northville, Michigan. If you know the area, you know the place. Big sprawling campus off 7 Mile Road, been closed since 2003. The main buildings are fenced off, scheduled for demolition that keeps getting delayed. My job is basically to drive around the perimeter, check the fences, make sure nobody's breaking in to do urban exploration stuff or steal copper wire. It's boring work. Pays $17.50 an hour, which is not great, but the benefits are decent, and I needed something with consistent hours after my last gig fell through. I do overnights, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., Thursday through Monday. My girlfriend lives in Ypsilanti and works days, so we basically only see each other on my days off, which is putting some strain on things if I'm being honest. But that's not what this is about. I should mention I'm not a superstitious person. I don't believe in ghosts. I think most paranormal stuff is either misidentified natural phenomena or people's brains playing tricks on them. I've read about infrasound causing feelings of unease, about carbon monoxide poisoning making people hallucinate, about how pattern recognition in the human brain can make you see faces in random noise. I know all that. I'm telling you this so you understand that what I'm about to describe is not me being credulous or easily spooked. I've been on this assignment for 4 months. The first 3 months were completely uneventful, boring actually. I do my rounds, check the fence line, sit in my car listening to podcasts, submit my reports. The most exciting thing that happened was finding a hole in the fence where some teenagers had cut through. I reported it, facilities patched it, done. Then about 5 weeks ago, things started getting weird. It was a Tuesday night in March. Wait, no, Wednesday. I remember because Wednesday is when they do trash pickup on 7 Mile, and I could hear the trucks in the distance around 5 a.m. So it was Wednesday, March 12th, probably around 2:30 in the morning. I was doing my standard perimeter check, driving the access road that loops around the main building complex. There's a stretch where you pass close to Building 50, which was the main patient housing facility back when this place was operational. It's this massive red brick thing, 4 stories, probably 200,000 square feet. Windows are all boarded up, doors are chained, roof is partially collapsed in the east wing. Standard abandoned institutional building. I was driving maybe 15 miles per hour, scanning my flashlight across the building facade like I always do when I saw movement in one of the 3rd floor windows. Now, the windows are boarded from the outside with plywood, but there are gaps, especially on the upper floors where they didn't bother doing as thorough a job. And through one of those gaps, I saw something move. My first thought was animals, raccoons, possums, birds. They get in through holes in the roof. Totally normal. I made a note in my patrol log. Possible animal activity, building 53rd floor, and kept driving. But here's the thing. The movement I saw was at eye level behind the window. Not low like a raccoon, not fluttering like a bird. It was at the height where a person's head would be if they were standing there looking out. I told myself it was probably just a shadow from my flashlight moving across debris inside. Light does weird things in abandoned buildings. I've seen it before. Your flashlight catches something reflective and it looks like movement. I finished my round and didn't think about it again until the next night, Thursday night. Same time, same stretch of road. I wasn't even thinking about the night before. I was listening to a podcast about the Donner Party. My girlfriend got me into history podcasts and now I'm kind of obsessed, and I was barely paying attention to the building. Then I saw it again. Same window. 3rd floor, east wing, about 7 windows in from the corner. Something moving behind the gap in the plywood. I stopped my car. I sat there for probably 2 full minutes just watching that window. Nothing moved. The building just sat there like it always does, dark and quiet and dead. I could hear my own breathing and the tick of my engine cooling. I told myself I was being ridiculous. I'm a grown man sitting in a parking lot staring at a window because I thought I saw something move. Get a grip, Dave. I drove on, but I noticed something as I was pulling away. My phone said 2:47 a.m. the night before. When I'd seen the first movement, my patrol log timestamp said 2:43 a.m. I'm not saying that means anything. I'm just saying I noticed it. For the next week, I paid close attention to that window every time I passed it. Nothing, just boards and darkness, and the occasional flutter of what was probably a bird or bat inside. I started to feel stupid for making such a big deal about it. Then on March 21st, I saw it again. Same window, same time, 2:44 a.m., according to my phone. Same movement, but this time I got a better look. It wasn't a shadow, it wasn't an animal. It was a shape, roughly person size, that moved from left to right behind the gap in the plywood, like someone walking past the window on the other side. My heart rate picked up. I could feel my pulse in my ears. Not because I thought it was a ghost or whatever, because I thought there was a trespasser in the building. This happens sometimes. Urban explorers get in despite our best efforts. They post videos on YouTube, photos on Instagram, abandoned asylum exploration, so creepy type stuff. Mostly they're harmless, but it's still trespassing, and if someone gets hurt in there, it's a liability nightmare. Plus there's the copper thieves who are a little more dangerous. I radioed the police non-emergency line. I have the number programmed into my phone, and reported possible trespassing activity. Then I drove to the main entrance of Building 50 and waited for the patrol car to show up. 2 officers arrived maybe 20 minutes later. I showed them where I'd seen the movement. They suited up with flashlights and went in through a side door that we can access. There's a chain we can unlock for inspections. They were inside for about 40 minutes. I waited in my car, watching the windows, seeing nothing. When they came out, they said they'd searched the 3rd floor east wing thoroughly. Nobody there. No signs of recent human activity. No food wrappers. No sleeping bags. No fresh footprints in the dust. Nothing. Building's secure, one of them told me. Probably just animals. We spooked some pigeons on the 2nd floor. I thanked them, and they left. I drove past that window 3 more times that night. Nothing moved. Okay, quick pause. I've been typing this for like 20 minutes now, and I'm realizing this is going to take a while to explain properly. If you're actually reading this, I'll maybe subscribe or whatever. I'll post more if there's interest. I've got like 3 more incidents to cover, and honestly, if nobody reads this, I'm just going to give up and call it a night. Anyway, back to what was happening. After the police checked and found nothing, I tried to let it go. Maybe it was animals. Maybe my eyes were playing tricks. Maybe the stress of working overnights was getting to me. Sleep deprivation can cause visual disturbances. I looked it up, but I couldn't shake this feeling that something was off. I started researching the hospital's history, not because I thought it was haunted, I don't believe in that stuff, but because I was curious. I'd been working there for months, and I didn't really know anything about the place beyond it used to be a mental hospital. So I went down a rabbit hole. Northville Regional Psychiatric Hospital opened in 1952 as a state facility for the mentally ill. At its peak, it housed over 1,000 patients. It was one of those places that got worse over time as funding dried up and standards dropped. By the 70s and 80s, there were investigations into patient abuse, overcrowding, inadequate medical care, the usual horrible stuff you hear about old psychiatric institutions. There were also disappearances. I found a Detroit Free Press article from 1978 about a patient named Gerald Wozniak who went missing from the facility and was never found. The article said he was a paranoid schizophrenic who'd been committed by his family after a violent episode. He was 43 years old. One night he just wasn't in his room. They searched the grounds, the buildings, the surrounding woods. Nothing. They assumed he'd somehow escaped and wandered off, maybe died of exposure, but they never found a body. There were others. A female patient named Dolores Mendez in 1984, a staff orderly named Robert Culligan in 1991, who apparently walked out of Building 50 during his shift and was never seen again. A maintenance worker in 1996 who went into the sub-basement to fix a pipe and didn't come back up. Now, I want to be clear. People going missing from large institutional facilities isn't unusual, especially facilities housing people with mental illness who might wander off or not be properly supervised. These disappearances don't mean anything supernatural. They probably have mundane explanations that just weren't documented properly. But reading about them made me feel weird about the place. It added context. So the next significant incident happened on March 28th. I remember the date because it was my buddy Jake's birthday, and I was texting him while doing my rounds, making plans for the weekend. I was parked near the east fence, typing out a text about meeting at Hopcat for beers, when I heard something. It was coming from Building 50, from inside. The sound was rhythmic, like footsteps, but not quite. Too evenly spaced, too mechanical, like someone walking at a perfectly consistent pace, each step exactly the same duration apart. I put my phone down and listened. The sound continued for maybe 30 seconds. Then it stopped. I sat there in the silence for a long time. My car was maybe 50 feet from the building, close enough to hear sounds from inside if they were loud enough, far enough that I couldn't see much detail in the windows. I texted Jake, "Something weird just happened?" He replied, "What?" I typed, "IDK, how to explain it." Then NVM. He said, "You good?" I said, "Yeah, just tired, I think." I wasn't tired. I was freaked out, but I didn't want to admit it. What was I going to say? I heard footsteps in an abandoned building. That's probably just the building settling, pipes creaking, debris shifting. Old buildings make noise. That's normal. I forced myself to continue my patrol. I drove past Building 53 more times that night. I didn't hear the sound again. But I noticed something else. On my third pass, around 4:15 a.m., I saw that my car's dash cam had stopped recording. The red light that usually blinks to show it's working was off. I pulled over to check and found that the SD card was corrupted somehow. The whole thing needed to be reformatted. I lost whatever footage I might have had from that night. Over the next week, I started documenting everything obsessively. I bought a new SD card for my dashcam. I started carrying a handheld audio recorder, one of those Sony ones. Cost me like $60 on Amazon. I downloaded an EMF meter app on my phone. I know. Those apps are mostly garbage, just measuring normal electromagnetic fluctuations. But I wanted data. I wanted something concrete. April 3rd, 1:23 a.m. I was doing my patrol and I heard the footsteps again. Same rhythmic pattern, coming from building 50. I grabbed my audio recorder and hit record, held it out the car window, pointed at the building. Later, when I played it back, all I could hear was wind and the ambient hum of distant traffic. The footsteps didn't record. Either they weren't loud enough for the mic to pick up or, I don't know, something else. April 5th, 2:51 a.m. I saw movement in the window again. Same window. Third floor east wing. This time the shape seemed to stop and face me. I swear I could see what looked like the outline of shoulders. Ahead. My flashlight was off because I was trying not to alert whatever it was. I just watched through my windshield. The shape stayed there for maybe 10 seconds, then moved away. I didn't call the police this time. What was I going to say? I saw a shape in a window again. Can you search the building again and find nothing again? April 8th, 3:07 a.m. I was sitting in my car near the north fence, filling out some paperwork, when my radio crackled with static. Now my radio is just a standard two-way, connected to the dispatch office. It only receives transmissions from dispatch or other security personnel on the same frequency. It doesn't pick up random signals, but the static wasn't random. There was a pattern to it, almost like breathing. I keyed the mic. Dispatch. This is Northville Mobile 1. Radio check. No response. Just more static with that breathing pattern underneath. Dispatch, do you copy? The static cut out suddenly. Complete silence. Then Marge at dispatch came through. Northville Mobile 1. This is dispatch. Sorry, was away from my desk. What do you need? Just checking radio function, I said. I was getting some interference. Signal's clear on my end, she said. You need anything? No, I'm good. Thanks. I sat there for a long time after that, just listening to the silence. April 11th was when things escalated. I was doing my 2 a.m. patrol. I'd started timing my passes by building 50 more precisely, keeping detailed notes, when I saw something that made me slam on my brakes. Every window on the third floor was lit from within. Not brightly, but definitely lit. A pale bluish glow, like light from a phone screen or an old CRT monitor, visible through all the gaps in the plywood. Every window, the entire third floor. I sat there staring, my heart pounding. Actually pounding. I could feel it in my chest, that heavy thudding that makes you aware of your own body in an uncomfortable way. The building has no power. It's been disconnected from the grid since 2003. There are no generators inside. I checked the facility documents. There is no reason for any light to be coming from inside that building. I fumbled for my phone to take a video. By the time I got the camera app open and pointed, the lights were gone. All of them, simultaneously. Just dark windows again. The video I took shows nothing. Just dark building, dark windows. My shaking hand making the footage jerky and useless. I called dispatch, asked if there had been any scheduled activity at the site. Maybe maintenance workers with flashlights, inspectors. Marge checked the logs. Nothing scheduled. No authorized personnel on site besides me. Want me to call police? She asked. I thought about it. What would I tell them? I saw lights that disappeared before I could document them. They'd think I was losing it. No, I said. I'll keep monitoring. Probably just reflections off my flashlight or something. Copy that. Stay safe. I didn't feel safe. I should probably mention the EMF stuff here because I know it's going to come up. After the light incident, I started taking readings with my phone app at various points around the campus. Again, I know these apps are mostly useless. They just measure magnetic field fluctuations from your phone's internal components. Real EMF investigation requires proper equipment. But I noticed something weird. Near Building 50, especially near the east wing, my readings were consistently higher than anywhere else on the campus. Not dramatically higher. We're talking maybe 2 to 3 milligus compared to 0.5 to 1 milligus elsewhere, still well within normal ranges for any environment. But it was consistent. Every night, same pattern, higher readings near that building. I googled whether old buildings can have elevated EMF, and apparently they can. Old wiring, metal infrastructure, certain building materials can all contribute, so it probably meant nothing. But I also read about something called the fear frequency. It's a real thing, documented by scientists. Infrasound, sound below 20 hertz, below what humans can consciously hear, can cause feelings of unease, anxiety, dread. It can even cause visual disturbances in peripheral vision. And abandoned buildings with drafty corridors can generate infrasound when wind moves through them in certain ways. This actually made me feel better for a while. Maybe that's all this was. Wind moving through the building at certain times, generating infrasound, making me feel paranoid and see things that weren't there. A totally natural explanation. Except infrasound doesn't explain the lights. April 15th. This is the incident that made me seriously consider quitting this job. I was parked about 100 feet from building 50, filling out my hourly report. It was 3:33 a.m. I remember the time exactly because of what happened next. Something knocked on my car window. I jerked around so fast I hurt my neck. There was nothing there, just the empty parking lot, the dark building, the fence in the distance. But I heard it. 3 distinct knocks. Not taps, not scratches. Knocks like someone's knuckles against glass. My windows were up. There was nothing around my car that could have made that sound. No tree branches, no debris moving in the wind. It was a still night, barely any breeze. I sat frozen for what felt like forever. My hands were shaking. I could taste something metallic in my mouth. Apparently that's adrenaline. Your body does that under extreme stress. Then I heard it again. 3 knocks, but this time from the other side of the car. I started the engine and drove to the other end of the campus. I sat there until sunrise, refusing to go near Building 50 again that night. When I finally drove past it on my way out at 6 a.m., everything looked normal, just an abandoned building in the morning light. Kind of sad and decrepit, but not scary, not in daylight. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going, but I want to say something first. The part I'm about to get into is the reason I finally posted this. It's the part that keeps me up at night. I left some stuff out earlier because I was trying to keep this short, but forget it. If you've read this far, you deserve the full story. Subscribe because I'm thinking about posting the actual evidence I mentioned. Photos, recordings, the works. I don't know if I should make that public, but if enough people want to see it, I'll figure out how. Anyway, back to that night. After the knocking incident, I asked my supervisor if I could switch to a different site. I didn't tell her why. What was I going to say? Just that I was having trouble with the overnight shifts and thought a change of scenery might help. She said she'd look into it, but no promises. Allied has contracts all over Metro Detroit, and openings come up randomly. In the meantime, I tried to tough it out. I started avoiding Building 50 as much as possible. My patrol route technically requires me to pass it every hour, but I started just driving past quickly, not stopping, not looking at the windows. Just getting through it and moving on. This worked for about a week. Then on April 23rd, my car broke down. I was doing my 2 a.m. pass. Quick, eyes forward, no stopping. When my engine just died. No warning lights, no sputtering, just sudden silence. The car rolled to a stop about 30 feet from Building 50. Of course, I tried the ignition. Nothing. The dash was dark. No lights at all. Like the battery was completely dead. I sat there in the dark, in the silence, trying not to panic. I pulled out my phone to call for a tow. No signal. I have T-Mobile, and coverage at the site is usually decent. I'd never had problems before, but my phone showed 0 bars. I tried dispatch on my radio. Static. Not the breathing pattern from before, just regular static. No response no matter how many times I keyed the mic. I was stuck. I got out of the car. I don't know why. Maybe I thought getting some distance from the vehicle would help my phone get signal. Maybe I just needed to move, to do something other than sit there in the dark. The night was quiet. Too quiet, actually. No cars on 7 Mile, no crickets, no wind. Just silence so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. I walked a few steps toward the fence, checking my phone. Still no signal. Then I heard the door, behind me. The sound of a heavy door swinging open. Hinges creaking. I turned around. The side entrance to Building 50, the one the police had used when they searched the place, was standing open. The chain that secured it was hanging loose. I know for a fact the door was locked. I check it every night. It's part of my patrol routine. But it was open now. A rectangle of deeper darkness in the brick facade. And standing in that darkness, just inside the doorway, was a figure. I couldn't see details. Just a shape, roughly human-sized, standing absolutely still, watching me. I could feel it watching me, even though I couldn't see eyes. My legs didn't want to work. That thing people say about being frozen with fear. It's real. My brain was screaming at me to run, but my body just stood there. The figure tilted its head, slowly, like a dog hearing a strange sound. Then it moved, not walking, more like flowing, like it was made of smoke or shadow or something that didn't follow normal physics. It moved from the doorway toward me, not fast, but not slow either, just this inevitable gliding motion. I ran. I don't remember deciding to run. My body just did it. I sprinted toward the fence, toward the access road, toward anywhere that wasn't here. Behind me, I heard footsteps. That same rhythmic pattern I'd heard before, perfectly even, perfectly mechanical, but faster now. Getting closer. I made it to the fence. There's a gate near the access road. I fumbled with my keycard, almost dropped it, finally got the gate open and through. I didn't look back. I ran down 7 Mile Road until I saw headlights. A car, thank God, just some random person driving home from somewhere at 3 a.m. I flagged them down. They must have thought I was crazy. Some sweating, terrified guy in a security uniform stumbling into the road waving his arms. But they stopped. An older woman, maybe 60s, drove me to the 7-Eleven about a mile down the road. I called my girlfriend. She drove out from Ypsilanti to pick me up. I didn't tell her everything. Just that my car broke down and my phone wasn't working and I got spooked being alone out there. You should quit that job, she said. She was probably right. Here's the thing though. When we drove back to get my car the next morning, I wasn't going back alone, and I wasn't going back at night. The car started right up. No problems. Battery was fine. Engine was fine. Everything was fine. The door to building 50 was closed and locked. Chain intact. I checked my phone. Full signal. I even looked at my patrol logs from that night. According to my timestamps, everything was normal. My 2 a.m. pass showed no anomalies. My 3 a.m. pass, which I never did because I was running for my life, showed me completing the route normally. I didn't log those entries. I know I didn't, but they were there, in my handwriting, dated and signed. I took a week off, used my PTO, told my supervisor I was sick. I didn't tell her what really happened. During that week, I did more research. I found online forums where urban explorers shared their experiences at Northville. Most of it was typical stuff. Cool photos of decay, speculation about what different rooms were used for, debates about the ethics of exploring private property. But a few posts stood out. One user, username Nocturnal DJ, had posted in 2019 about exploring Building 50 at night and hearing footsteps that weren't footsteps, if that makes sense. They said they'd been in the East Wing 3rd floor when they started feeling dizzy and disoriented, and they'd gotten out as fast as they could. Another user, Motown Abandoned, mentioned in 2021 that their camera had stopped working inside Building 50. Electronics go haywire in there, they wrote. Phones die, cameras glitch, flashlights flicker. Something about the building doesn't like technology. A third user, whose account has since been deleted, posted a comment in 2022. I went in alone. Biggest mistake of my life. Something followed me out. I don't go near that building anymore, and neither should anyone else. No details. Just that. I also found references to the disappearances I'd read about before, and I found something new. A mention of a night security guard who worked at the site in 2015 and quit after less than 2 weeks. No explanation given. The post just said he'd had experiences and wouldn't talk about it. I tried to find more information about him but couldn't. It's not like there's a directory of former Allied Universal employees. Here's where I'm at right now. I went back to work 3 days ago. I told myself I was being ridiculous. I told myself there had to be rational explanations for everything. Infrasound, EMF sensitivity, stress-induced hallucinations, whatever. I told myself I needed this job, and I wasn't going to let my imagination run wild. The first 2 nights were uneventful. Normal patrols, normal sounds, nothing unusual. Building 50 just sat there like the dead building it was. I started to think maybe I'd just had some kind of stress-related episode, that it was over now. Then last night, I was doing my 2 a.m. pass, driving quickly like I'd been doing, when my radio crackled. Dave, my name, clear as day, coming from the radio. I didn't respond. I just kept driving. Dave, come inside. It wasn't Marge's voice. It wasn't anyone I recognized. It was low and scratchy and wrong, like someone speaking through a bad connection. We've been waiting for you. I floored it. I drove to the far end of the campus and sat there until my shift was over. When I checked the radio log this morning with dispatch, there were no transmissions to my unit during that time period. Nothing. According to the records, my radio was silent, so that's where I am. Sitting in the parking lot at 4:47 a.m. Wait, it's almost 6 now. I've been typing for over an hour, trying to figure out what to do. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in hauntings. I believe in science and rational explanations, and the tendency of the human brain to find patterns where none exist. But I also believe what I experienced, and I don't know how to reconcile those two things. I've thought about the scientific explanations. Infrasound could explain the feelings of dread, maybe even some of the visual disturbances. EMF sensitivity, if it's real, might contribute. Sleep deprivation from working overnights is definitely a factor. It can cause hallucinations, confusion, memory problems. But none of that explains the door being open. None of that explains the figure. None of that explains my car dying and then being fine. None of that explains the voice on the radio. I found some academic papers about place memory. This idea that traumatic events might somehow leave an imprint on a location. It's not mainstream science, more fringe psychology stuff. But the idea is that places where bad things happened might affect people in ways we don't understand. Something about emotional residue. Psychological susceptibility. The Northville Regional Psychiatric Hospital housed over 1,000 mentally ill patients for 50 years. Many of them suffered abuse, neglect, horrible conditions. People died there. People disappeared there. Maybe that leaves a mark. Or maybe I'm just losing my mind. That's also possible. Maybe this whole thing is some kind of breakdown, and I need to see a therapist. I have an appointment scheduled for next week. My girlfriend made me do it. She's worried about me. I'm worried about me. I'm going to post this because I need someone else to know. I need to know I'm not the only one experiencing this. Or at least I need people to tell me I'm crazy so I can deal with that. There are things I haven't shared. I mentioned the audio recordings. I have hours of them. all showing nothing anomalous on playback. I have the corrupted dashcam footage. I have my patrol logs with entries I don't remember writing. I also have photos. I took pictures of Building 50 every night for 2 weeks. Most of them are just photos of a dark building, but in 3 of them, there's something in the 3rd floor east wing window. I've looked at those photos so many times. It could be pareidolia, my brain seeing a face where there's just shadows and debris. It could be a trick of the light, a reflection, an artifact from my phone camera. But it looks like a face. It looks like someone standing at the window, looking out, looking at me. So that's what happened. I haven't told this story in full before. Typing it all out, I don't know. It made it real again in a way I wasn't expecting. Look, I mentioned there were other incidents. I wasn't exaggerating. This was just the first month and change. I'm still working at that site. I'm still doing my patrols. Every night I drive past that building and I don't look at the windows and I try not to think about what might be looking back. There are 3 more incidents I haven't covered yet. The thing that happened in the parking lot last week, the photographs, not just the window shots, but the others, and what I found when I finally got up the nerve to check the Historical Society archives. If you actually read this whole thing, if you got all the way to the end, then you deserve to know the rest. Subscribe, and I'll post the second part. It involves what I found in those archives: public records, newspaper clippings, death certificates. When I pieced it all together, let's just say it recontextualized everything I thought I understood about that place. And if there's enough interest, I'll share the photos, the ones that show what I've been trying to explain. I don't know. Maybe I'm having a breakdown. Maybe there's a logical explanation for all of this that I just haven't found yet. But I know what I experienced, and I know that building is still there, and I know that whatever's inside it knows my name. Subscribe if you want the rest of the story. I'll try to post the next part within a week or so. Just need to mentally prepare myself to relive all that again. Thanks for reading. Seriously, just knowing someone else knows about this now, it helps. I work night audit at a budget hotel off Highway 101. For 3 weeks, I kept getting calls to the front desk from a room that didn't exist. I'm not sure how to start this, so I'll just say it. Someone was accessing my house through a crawl space I didn't know about, and I found out because of phone calls that shouldn't have been possible. My name's Matt. I'm 31, work remote customer service for a cloud storage company. I moved to Lompoc, California last March. It's this small town near Vandenberg Space Force Base where they launch rockets. The rent was suspiciously cheap for a whole house, but I figured it was because the place was built in the 70s and everything was original. Pink bathroom tiles, orange shag carpet in 1 bedroom, that whole deal. I was going through a breakup. Sarah and I split after 4 years. She kept the apartment in San Luis Obispo. I needed somewhere cheap to figure my life out. The house was on a street called Juniper Lane, which sounded nice but was just a cul-de-sac with 6 houses total. Mine was at the end. The garage was detached, which I thought was charming. There was a lemon tree in the backyard that never produced actual lemons, just these hard green things that fell and rotted. My job is mind-numbing. People call because they can't remember their passwords, or they uploaded something and now it's gone. I work 3 p.m. to midnight, which is why the cheap rent worked. I didn't need anything nice, just a place to sleep until noon and microwave dinner before work. The first call came on my 3rd night. I'd been there long enough to unpack my laptop and clothes, not long enough to learn which light switches did what. I was watching something on my phone in bed. It was probably 2:47 a.m. because that's when I usually check the time and think about how I should sleep, but don't. My phone rang. Not a text, an actual call, which was weird that late. The number was blocked. I almost didn't answer, but my brain was still in work mode, thinking maybe it was a coworker covering a shift. I said hello. There was breathing, not heavy breathing like movies, just normal breathing like someone holding the phone to their face. I said hello again. Nothing. Then the call ended. I figured it was a wrong number, or spam. Those robocalls sometimes have a delay before the recording starts. I blocked the number and went back to my show. The next morning, afternoon, I woke up around 1 p.m. I noticed the cereal box was on the counter. I'd put it away, I was sure. But there it was. I told myself I'd forgotten. New house, new routine. My brain was on autopilot. That night, same thing. 3:12 a.m., blocked number. I answered, hoping to catch a telemarketer and tell them to screw off, but it was just breathing again. I hung up immediately, checked my call log. Nothing there, which was weird. iPhones usually show blocked calls, but my phone's old, an iPhone 11 with a cracked screen and battery life that drops 20% if I look at it wrong. Probably a glitch. A week went by. The calls kept coming, always between 2 and 4 a.m. I stopped answering. I'd just decline and try to sleep, but I started noticing other things. The toilet seat was up when I got home from work. I live alone. I don't put it up. The shower was damp one morning. My shampoo bottle, which I keep on the right side of the tub, was on the left. I made a joke to myself about having a ghost who was very particular about bathroom etiquette. Then I googled carbon monoxide poisoning. I know it's the Reddit meme, but the symptoms matched. Confusion, memory problems, that feeling of dread I couldn't shake. I had my landlord check the detector. It was working fine. He looked at me weird when I explained why I was asking. I started keeping a log, not like a diary, just notes on my phone. Tuesday, call at 2:34 a.m. Declined. Wednesday, call at 3:56 a.m. Answered, breathing. Thursday, no call. Friday, call at 2:18 a.m. I also started noting the weird stuff in the house. April 5th, coffee maker has water in it. Didn't use it. April 6th, remote is on couch, left it on table. April 7th, window in kitchen is unlocked. I never opened that window. My mom called on Sunday. She does that, checks in. I almost told her, but what would I say? Hey, I think someone's calling me at night, and also maybe moving my cereal. She'd worry. I told her the job was fine, the house was fine, everything was fine. The calls changed on April 12th. It was 2:23 a.m. I answered because I was awake anyway, stressing about my car's AC, which had started making this grinding noise I couldn't afford to fix. This time there was a voice. It whispered something I couldn't make out, then hung up. I played it back in my head. Sounded like, I'm here. Could have been I'm near, could have been my brain making patterns out of static. I looked up pareidolia. That's when you see faces in toast, hear words in noise. It's a real thing, but this felt different. I started locking my bedroom door at night. It has one of those push-button locks. Or not secure, but it made me feel better. I put a chair under the knob like you see in movies. It was stupid, but I did it. The flower thing was Jake's idea. Jake's my friend from college. We still text sometimes. I told him I thought maybe I had a rodent problem because of the food moving. He suggested putting flour down to see footprints. So I did. I spread flour on the kitchen floor before work on April 15th. Came home at midnight. Checked. There were footprints. Small ones, like a woman's maybe, or a teenager. They went from the back door to the fridge to the cabinets and back. But here's the thing. I checked the back door. It was locked. The deadbolt was thrown. I have a Ring doorbell, motion activated. Check the footage. Nothing. Okay, quick pause. I'm like 15 minutes into typing this out and realizing this is going to be way longer than I thought. If you're actually reading this and want me to finish the whole thing, let me know or subscribe or whatever. I've got like 3 more incidents to cover. And honestly, if nobody's reading, I'm just gonna go to bed. Anyway, back to what happened. The footprints were the first thing I couldn't explain away. Rodents don't leave prints like that. And the back door being locked while someone clearly came through it. That didn't make sense. I took photos. My hands were shaking. Not movie shaking. Just that slight tremor you get from too much coffee. The photos came out blurry. Of course. I called Jake. It was 1 a.m. He answered because he's a bartender and gets off work late. Dude, I said, there's someone in my house. What? Footprints. In flour. Someone's been in my house. Call the cops. I don't have proof. It's just flour. Matt, call the cops. I didn't. I felt stupid. What would I say? I had blurry photos of footprints in flour. They'd think I was crazy. Or worse, they'd come out, find nothing. And I'd be the weird guy in the cheap rental. Instead, I started searching the house. Not like a movie. Not with a baseball bat. Just walking through each room. Looking. Under beds. In closets. Behind shower curtains. Nothing. The attic access is in the hallway ceiling. I pulled the cord, lowered the ladder. It made that creaky sound old springs make. I shined my phone flashlight up there. Boxes from the previous tenant. Insulation. Dust. No footprints in the dust. I almost didn't check the garage. The garage is detached, like I said. It's this weird setup where you have to go out the back door, across maybe 15 feet of concrete, and into the garage. I used it for storage mostly. My bike, some boxes, the usual junk. There's a crawl space access in the garage floor, a wooden panel about 3 feet by 2. I don't know why I pulled it up. Maybe I heard something. Maybe I just needed to check everything. The panel came up easy, too easy. It should have been stuck, painted over years ago, but it lifted right up. There was a space underneath, maybe 3 feet deep, and in that space was a sleeping bag, a blue one, the kind you get at Walmart, a backpack, a water bottle, and a phone charger plugged into the garage outlet, running down into the crawl space. I dropped the panel. It slammed shut. My brain just said nope, and I agreed. I was back in my car before I made the decision to leave. I drove to the Shell station at the highway exit, the one with the subway attached. I sat in my car for probably 20 minutes, just trying to get myself to go back inside. I called the police from the gas station parking lot, told them I'd found evidence someone was living in my garage. They came, 2 officers in a cruiser. I showed them the crawl space. They took photos. They asked if anything was missing. I said I didn't think so. They said they'd file a report, increase patrols in the area. They didn't seem that concerned. Trespassing, sure, but no signs of forced entry. The person was clearly gone now. I stayed at a motel that night. The Days Inn by the highway. Cost me $89, which I really couldn't afford, but whatever. I kept thinking about the phone calls, the breathing. The whisper. If someone was living in the garage, how could they call me? The garage didn't have a landline. My cell number. I guess they could have found it. I don't know. I was too tired to think. The next day, I went back with my landlord. We checked the crawl space again. The stuff was still there. My landlord, this guy named Gary, who owns like 12 properties in town, he got weirdly quiet. He said the previous tenant had broken their lease, left suddenly, didn't leave a forwarding address. That was 2 months before I moved in. I asked if I could break my lease. Gary said no. Contractually, I was on the hook for 6 months. I said someone had been living in my garage. He said there was no evidence of forced entry. The person was clearly gone. And besides, the lease didn't cover temporary squatters, his exact words. And I wanted to argue, but I was exhausted. I moved my bed into the living room that night, pushed it against the wall where I could see both the front door and the back door. I put a metal folding chair under each door handle. I know, but I did it. The calls stopped for 3 days. I thought maybe that was it. Maybe whoever it was had moved on. My Ring doorbell showed nothing. My laptop, which I'd set up to record the living room while I was at work, showed nothing. Just me leaving, me coming home. Then on April 20th, I got a call at 2:18 a.m. Not blocked this time. It was a local number. 805 area code. I answered without thinking. The voice said, "You moved my stuff." I hung up, immediately blocked the number. My hands were doing that tremor thing again. I called the police again. They came out. I showed them the call log. They said they'd look into it, but without a name, without proof it was the same person. There wasn't much they could do. They suggested changing my number. I said I'd just changed it when I moved. They shrugged. I looked up the number the next day. It was a burner phone, purchased at the Walmart in Santa Maria. That's a 45-minute drive. I went there, asked to see security footage. They laughed at me. I don't blame them. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going, but real talk. This is taking forever to write out, and I don't even know if anyone's going to read this whole thing. If you're still here, subscribe, I guess. That way I know people actually care about this story, and I'm not just screaming into the void at 2 a.m. Alright, so where was I? The Walmart thing. I was grasping at straws. I know that now, but I needed to do something. I couldn't just wait for the next call. I started researching the house, not like a detective, just Googling the address. Found nothing. No news articles, no crime reports, no mention on any forums. Then I went to the library. Lompoc has this small library downtown, near the old mission. I asked about local history. The librarian, this woman named Linda, who was probably 60 and had that look of someone who's seen every weird thing a small town produces. She asked why I was interested. I told her I'd moved into the house on Juniper Lane. She got quiet, like Gary got quiet. She asked which house. I said the one at the end, the one with the detached garage. Linda told me about the original owner. Built the house in 1974. He worked at the base, had a family, wife and 2 kids. In 1981, he just disappeared. Left for work one morning and never came back. His car was found at the base parking lot. His security clearance was still active. He was just gone. The family stayed for a few months, then moved. The house sat empty for a year. Then it started changing hands. Every few years, someone new. Linda pulled up newspaper archives on microfilm. I didn't even know those still existed. She showed me articles. Local man missing. Search continues. Family seeks answers. The articles stopped after 6 months. No resolution. No body found. No explanation. I asked about the garage. Linda said the original owner had built it himself, added the crawl space for storage. He was a prepper type, her words. Always talking about the Cold War, nuclear fallout, needing a place to hide. I went home and looked at the crawl space again. Really looked. I brought a real flashlight, not just my phone. The sleeping bag was army green, not blue like I'd thought in my panic. The backpack was olive drab. Inside, canned food, a can opener, a first aid kit, a hand crank radio, prepper stuff. But there was also a notebook, waterproof pages, the kind you get at REI. I opened it. The first page had a date, March 15th. That's the day I moved in. The entry said, new tenant, male, 30s, works nights, leaves at 2:45 p.m., returns 12:30 a.m. Pattern established. There were more entries. March 16th, explored main house while at work, found spare key in kitchen drawer. March 17th, shower works, water pressure good. March 18th, he keeps cereal in cabinet above fridge. Noted. The entries went on. Every day I'd been there, this person had been in my house, using my shower, eating my food. Watching my TV, based on one entry about a show I'd left paused. The last entry was April 20th, the day of the call. It said, he moved my sleeping bag, time to relocate. I called the police again. This time I had the notebook. They took it seriously. They dusted for prints, took the sleeping bag, the backpack. They asked if I'd seen anyone suspicious. I said no. They asked about security. I showed them the ring footage, which had nothing. They asked about the back door. I said it was always locked. That's when we found it. The spare key, the one mentioned in the notebook. It was in my kitchen drawer, just like the entry said. I didn't put it there. I didn't even know that drawer had a key. It was an old brass key, the kind for a deadbolt. The officer tried it on the back door. It worked perfectly, smooth. Whoever had been here had found a key I didn't know existed, made a copy, and was using it to come and go. They found him 3 days later, not in my house, in a vacant property about 2 blocks away. Another rental owned by Gary. Same setup, detached garage, crawl space. This one had a sleeping bag too, and another notebook. The entries were similar, different tenant, different patterns. The guy was 47, lived in his car, had been doing this for years, moving from vacant property to vacant property, living in crawl spaces, in garages, in sheds. He never stole anything valuable, just food, just showers, just the feeling of being in a house instead of a car. He'd get the numbers from mail. People get so much junk mail with their phone numbers on it, or from utility bills left in drawers. He had a burner phone for each place. Would call just to hear someone else breathing, to feel connected. The prosecutor said they couldn't charge him with much. Trespassing, sure, but he hadn't stolen anything, hadn't hurt anyone, hadn't even been seen. He was just there, existing in the spaces between people's lives. I moved out that week, broke the lease, lost my deposit. Gary was surprisingly cool about it. He said he'd had other tenants report odd occurrences in his properties, but never put it together. He offered to refund my rent for the last month. I said no, I just wanted to leave. I'm in a studio apartment in Santa Maria now. 2nd floor, no garage, no crawl spaces. I check every lock 3 times. I have 3 cameras. I know it's excessive. The call stopped, obviously. But I still wake up at 2:47 a.m. sometimes. My body just does it. I check my phone. No blocked calls, no unknown numbers, just my mum's texts from earlier asking if I'm eating enough vegetables. Here's the part I keep coming back to. The notebook entry from March 19th. It said, he talks in his sleep, says a name, Sarah, thinks about her a lot. I never told anyone about Sarah. Not Gary, not the cops, not Jake. How did he know? I guess he could have found old mail, but I forwarded everything. There shouldn't have been anything with her name on it, unless he went through my phone. While I was sleeping, or while I was at work, he could have. He had 3 weeks. I changed my number, changed all my passwords, got a new phone actually, because the idea of him touching it made my stomach do that dropping thing, like missing a stare. The police said he never hurt anyone, but he knew about Sarah. He knew my schedule down to the minute. He knew what cereal I ate. He knew I talk in my sleep. And I don't know how to explain this part, but the phone calls, the breathing, I recognized it. Not at the time, but later after they caught him. I saw him on the news. They didn't show his face, just a photo of his car. But there was audio from his arrest. He was breathing, just normal breathing. It sounded exactly like the calls. Okay, so I've been typing this for like an hour now, and my hands are cramping. But I'm going to finish, because the next part is important. Actually, you know what? If you've gotten this far, just subscribe, please. I know that sounds desperate, but I've got like 4 more experiences from that place, and I'll only post them if I know people actually read this one. I'm not farming for subs. I genuinely just need to know this isn't disappearing into the internet void. Alright, so here's what happened next. The police gave me his name. I'm not going to share it. He has family apparently. A sister who said he'd been unstable since their mom died. He'd lost his job, his house, everything. Started living in his car, then figured out the crawl space thing. But they also told me something else, something I haven't told anyone. In his car, they found notebooks, 12 of them, each one documenting a different house, a different person, going back 8 years. The earliest entries were different, more desperate. He'd break in, steal things, sleep in actual beds. Then he got smarter, started staying in unused spaces, places people didn't check, attics in houses with high ceilings, basements that had been sealed off. That space between the drywall and the brick in some older places. He got good at it, learned to be quiet, learned people's schedules, learned that if you only move things slightly, people assume they'd done it themselves, learned that most people don't check their crawl spaces. The last notebook, the one from my house, had something else in it, tucked in the back page, folded up, a photograph, not of me, of the house, but from inside the garage, looking out at the main house. Through a crack in the door, you could see my bedroom window. The timestamp on the back, printed from a cheap drugstore develop date, was March 10th, 5 days before I moved in. He'd been there before me, waiting, watching the house empty, then watching me move in. The psychologist they made me talk to, victim services. Standard procedure. Said it was common for people like him to develop attachments, to see the houses as theirs, the people in them as temporary visitors. She said I was lucky he never got violent. Most don't. They just want to observe, to be near normal life while living in the cracks of it. She asked if I'd had any lingering effects. I said no. I lied. I can't sleep without every light on. I have nightmares where I wake up and see someone standing in the corner, but it's not a person. It's just a space where a person could be. I check my cameras obsessively. I still keep a log, but now it's of every noise, every creak, every time I think I smell something that isn't my apartment. And the phone. I got a new one, like I said, but I kept the old one. It's in a drawer. I charged it up once, just to see. The call logs are still empty. No record of the blocked numbers, no voicemails, just my normal calls to my mom, to Jake, to work. But there's one contact. I don't remember adding it. It's just a number, no name. 805-555-0147. I called it once from the new phone. It rang 3 times, then went to a voicemail that just beeped. No message. No, leave your name. Just beep, then silence. I looked up the number. It's not assigned. It's a placeholder number, the kind they use in movies. It shouldn't work, but it does. I haven't called it again. I'm not going to. But I think about it. I think about him, wherever he is. Jail probably, or a psych facility. I think about him having my number, having my schedule, having my spare key. The landlord, Gary, he called me last week, said he was selling the Juniper Lane property. Said the new owners were planning to demolish the garage, build an ADU. He asked if I wanted to come get any stuff I might have left behind. I said no, there's nothing there I want. But I asked him to do me a favor. I asked him to check something before they tore it down. There's a panel in the garage floor, the crawl space access. I asked him to look inside, see if there was anything left. He called me back the next day. He sounded different, quieter. He said there was a notebook, newer than the one the police took. It had entries dated after the arrest, after I'd moved out. The last entry was from 2 days before he called me. It said, garage being demolished soon, found new location, similar setup. Tenant works nights, leaves at 3 p.m., returns 12:30 a.m., pattern established. Gary said he called the police. They searched the new location, another of his properties, found nothing, no sleeping bag, no backpack. Just an empty crawl space. But here's the thing, the address of the new location. It's my building, the apartment complex I'm in now, the one with no garage, no crawl spaces. I told Gary he must have read it wrong. He said he didn't. I checked. My building does have a crawl space. I didn't know. It's under the stairs, accessed from a maintenance closet. I'd never noticed the door. It's painted the same color as the walls, has a sign that says utility access, authorized personnel only. I haven't opened it. I'm not going to. I called the police again. They sent an officer. He checked. He said it was empty, just pipes and wires. He said I was safe, but I keep thinking about that phone number, the one that shouldn't exist. The one I didn't add to my contacts. It called me last night. At 2:47 a.m., I didn't answer. I let it ring. It rang 12 times, then stopped. No voicemail. I looked at the call log this morning. It's not there, just like before. So that's what happened. I haven't told this story in full before. Typing it all out, I don't know. It made it real again in a way I wasn't expecting. Look, I mentioned earlier there were other incidents. I wasn't exaggerating. This was just the first one. The one that I could actually explain to some degree. The other 4 times, I don't even know where to start with those. And the last incident, the one that made me actually move out and break my lease and lose my security deposit, that's the one I'm still not sure I should share publicly. But if you actually read this whole thing, if you got all the way to the end, then you deserve to know the rest. Subscribe, and I'll post the second incident. It involves the photographs I took, the ones that show, well, you'll see. I'm still trying to figure out if there's a rational explanation for what's in those photos. And if there's enough interest, I'll share the recordings too. I didn't mention this earlier, but I recorded some of the sounds. My phone's mic is garbage, so the quality is terrible, but you can still hear it. You can hear the thing I was talking about. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there's a logical explanation for all of this that I just haven't found yet. But I know what I experienced, and I know that place is still there. And I know that whoever moved in after me, I hope they're okay. I really do. Subscribe if you want the rest of the story. I'll try to post the next part within a week or so. Just need to mentally prepare myself to relive all that again. Thanks for reading. Seriously, just knowing someone else knows about this now, it helps.